Hey everybody, welcome to our inaugural episode of Super Simple. I'm Marc Teer, the founder of Black Spectacles, and I'm thrilled to kick off this new podcast. It's actually, it's like 5 or maybe even 6 years in the making, so it's really exciting to finally get to this point. The idea behind Super Simple is to really kind of get into the how in architecture. So we're going to focus through this podcast, we're going to focus not so much on the pretty pictures, but instead how designers are using design technology to realize their world-class projects. So we're going to try to talk more strategies, than where the move button is in some software or something. So that's kind of the big idea behind Super Simple. And I have to say we're really lucky to be able to kick off this podcast with John Shields from Point B Design. John has a firm that is based in Philadelphia. And he has won an AIA Technology and Architectural Practice Innovation Award in 2015 for his D-Bridge project, and that's what we're going to talk about today. You should know that John's practice is unique in that they work to focus both sort of on high-tech and low-tech tools to solve design problems, which is going to be evidenced in the project we talk about today because he has some really interesting strategies around how they iterated between the digital world and the one-to-one scale mockups that I think you guys are going to find really impressive. So that's what's on tap for today. Before we get started, if you'd like to register for our next episode, our second episode of Super Simple, it's going to be on June 8th, and it will feature Andrew Watkins of Ayers St. Grove. He's going to talk about how they used digital coordination to realize a ton of value during the design and construction processes on their AIA TAP Award winning project, another winner from last year, for the University of Delaware's Interdisciplinary Science and Engineering Lab project. So you can register for that episode at http://bksp.es/supersimple002. We'll share that link with you later as well. Today, just as a side note, you guys know that we have design software tutorials taught by world-class architects like John on blackspectacles.com. So make sure you stick around until the end of this episode because we have a special Black Spectacles promo code to share. So stay tuned to hear about that at the end. And tonight we'll be taking questions using the GoToWebinar question box for those of you who are attending live. As well as on Twitter using the hashtag SuperSimplePodcast. So to get started, again, I want to thank you, John, for sharing your work with us today. And I wanted to start off maybe by asking you, can you tell us a little bit about the D-Bridge project in general first?
Sure. You want to go to the first slide there?
Yeah.
So this is an exterior view of the project that we're discussing today. The project is a connector between an existing residential structure outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and an art gallery, which my firm designed in 2010. So we had a previous relationship with the client, and when we originally did the gallery, we opted not to connect the two buildings because there was so much emphasis in the early design concepts on the way in which the garden related to the artwork in the gallery and how much change we want to evidence in the building and in the reflections of the building from the landscape. So we wanted this diaphanous, connector, and so the bridge, as once the client started using the project, he wanted the weather connect because the project was proving to be quite successful for him. He was really happy about it, and he just wanted more gallery space as well. So we were going to use this space as some sculpture as well as some glass that he collects. So next slide. Okay, so we this is just to make sure I acknowledge that we work collaboratively. We both as a team internally and externally, we're very open source with our information. We're a very flat structured firm. As Mark said, we're high tech, low tech. So we have a 4,000 square foot wood and metal shop that's always been a part of our practice, and we use that to test new materials and to test systems that we are trying to incorporate in our design projects. And we use digital design tools that we build ourselves, often in Rhino, Grasshopper, and some of the plugins in there. We use Maya up front. And So hopefully this project will evidence some of that. So some of the people that we specifically collaborated with on this project, Keyston Hood is our local structural engineer in Philadelphia, and we've done a lot of projects with them, and also the gallery project that this building connects to. We work with Front Inc. from New York City, Mark Simmons' firm, and those guys we did the entire building gallery project with in 2010. And so when we started with this project and we started to get more involved with the feedback loop of structural analysis as part of our earliest design inquiry, Mark gave us 2 assets as a full-time, unspecified, let's figure this out when we know what we're up against kind of relationship. And as it went on, Vish and Keon stayed on the team straight through to the end. So next we have, you can go to the next slide. This is an interior view of the bridge from a rendering. Our team members at Point B that worked on the project were Sam Rosen, Priya Mehta, Tom Ecchiovetti, Josh Jordan, Jim McKenna, and myself. Next slide. The project was fully developed between April of 2014 and September of 2014. We really had done some conversations back and forth with the client, but until April of that year, we hadn't really hit, the foot on the gas, so to speak. So all of the work that you'll see tonight and a whole bunch of other images of the structural analysis side, I took out. I wanted to keep the conversation today focused on the way in which we use our custom-built design tools and the studio to make design decisions, what we call probabilistic solution sets, in which there isn't one specific, but there's rather an emergent bottom-up set of designs that move forward. And so hopefully this will evidence that. So next slide. So this is taking the bridge and pulling it apart. Here you see the exterior layer of tiles. These I'll come back to later. I just want you to have in your mind as we go forward some of the parlance or the nomenclature. So there's a waterproofing insulation layer, and what we're calling voxels are visual or 3-dimensional pixels, basically. And visual voxels are a skin surface that reports onto the structural voxel layer, and snoots and glazing refers to the glazing system and these concrete portal frames that were part of our strategy to decouple the buildings from the bridge. So, okay, and the slab. Okay.
Now, John, if I can ask, so just going back, the project that that you're showing here, the D Bridge project, it's maybe just to give us a sense of kind of where the project is in, I guess, what status it's in. It's, I think, can you tell us sort of where this project is in terms of its completion?
Yeah, so we, up in September, we had completed all of our, you'll see the later slides, the versioning of the voxels and the structural analysis. We were completely ready to go ahead and fabricate, and the slab is in currently. The foundations are in for the feet of the shell structure, and the snoots have not been cast yet. The client put it on hold due to some other issues that he had. He had a couple of other architectural projects that were ongoing simultaneously, and it was becoming too much at once to focus on it. So we're currently in a holding pattern right now.
Okay, so partially built, awaiting the good stuff, I guess.
Yeah, but fully at the launch point, frankly. All the information, engineering, commissioning of all the glazing package has been figured out. So.
Okay, cool.
The next one, this slide shows just the property and the context for the bridge. The red rain screen structure is part of the gallery, and you see the undulating roof out there. The glass out there is 20 feet tall, 9-foot wide panels, triple glazed with, every intersection is compound angle, and was quite a project to build. So this.
And John, the bridge that you sort of see here, this is the location of the actual.
Yep. So we built an epay deck that connected the two, and the profile of the ultimate slab that we cast isn't exactly like that, but we had certain things packed into that deck that we preserved. So
Got it.
And there's
Okay.
a shift in topography that you see just past your red mark. There's a drop in of 23 inches or so off of the deck down to grade. So there's a little pitch to the site. It's relatively flat between. This meadow that we're looking at in between here with the sycamore trees, that meadow, because of the way that we developed the gallery, that meadow is planted with, we call it a synaptic garden, between these two building faces, and it fires with various blooms, and in some of the pictures you can see the grass is up to almost 3 feet high. The meadow changes dramatically during the year as part of the design parameters here.